Hi, I wanted to make a video in an effort to reach women out there that are considering implants, that are being tempted by implants. I'm hoping to, encourage others to also share their stories and just to share the breast implant illness information. The fact that breast implants are toxic, and that there's a large majority of people that have MTHFR and other genetic variations where their cells don't detox at 100%. So therefore, the implants, the poison coming from the implants, their bodies don't have the ability to detox that poison out of them. Hence, they go into a toxic overload. But I thought maybe if I shared a couple experiences that God blessed me with, that maybe it would help encourage others too, because I needed some encouragement. I was pretty shy about sharing my breast implant illness journey with anyone. And God continued to draw people to me. He would pull people to me. And this one instance, I met this guy, real nice guy, and God put this nudging on my heart to share with this guy my breast implant illness. And I was like, I'm not sharing that. Let's just say I've learned a lot in the years since God has intervened and I've started walking with God, because I don't think I was necessarily a disobedient child of God, but I guess I didn't understand fully. So if I didn't understand fully when God would tell me to do something, I just kind of stifled it down and went on about my life. So God kept putting this nudging on my heart to share implant illness with this guy, and I continued to stifle it down. And finally, it got to the point where that nudging was incredible, and I had to tell this guy. So here I go, I randomly tell this guy, and I knew, so like by the world standards, I'm considered sane. So I knew it was inappropriate conversation, breast implants, to have with a guy. It didn't feel like that was a natural, correct topic to bring up. But regardless, here I go. I start telling this guy, and again, this has been months. So God had been nudging me for months to share with this guy, and I can't tell you the guilt that I dealt with following this, because it had been months that God was nudging me to share implant illness with this guy, and I thought, well, it's irrelevant. Why would I share implant illness with this guy that I don't even know that well? Well, I start going on telling him my journey, and it turns out, you wouldn't believe the look on his face. I thought, wow, this guy thinks I'm a nut job. That's what I thought in my head. I thought, he thinks I'm crazy telling him this. Yeah, I seem like one of those people that has to tell everything about themselves. I'm not that person. I'm very private with my life. You wouldn't know it by this YouTube channel that God put on my heart to do, but typically I was always very private. Even when I was dying of the implant illness, I did not go around telling people how sick I was. I was dying privately in the privacy of my own home. I was dying, and most people that were even close to me, I just didn't share with them what I was truly going through. But I tell this guy about implant illness, and the look on his face, I don't know if I'll ever forget it. It was just this look of amazement and shock all rolled into one. And he was hanging on my every word. But I thought, again, he was thinking, she's crazy. And I didn't even get all the information out. And he interjects and he said, God just told you to do that. And I thought, I stopped and I was like, yeah. And he said, you just saved my life. I have been so sick, and doctors can't figure out what's wrong with me. And I've had an implant, a testicle implant that my mom had put in me when I was 12 years old. You can't imagine how blown away I was. Totally blown away. because here I was ignoring God's nudge to share my testimony that God had blessed me with, because I thought it was irrelevant to this guy. And he ended up explanting, and it changed his life. So that taught me I am a lot more obedient to God now. When he puts a nudging on me, when he tells me to do something, I do my very best now to just be obedient and do as he says, because it doesn't always make sense what he tells us to do. And I used to think if it didn't make sense that I would just go on about my life. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't try to be disobedient, but I just didn't follow through when I didn't understand what God was doing. Now I just do it. Because then, so I learned. That's good, right? At least I learned. I still got a lot of learning to do, but I do what I can do. I do my best I can. And God drew another guy to me. And I knew this guy was a widow, but I didn't know anything else about him. And as I sat there with him, meeting him for the first time, God gave me the knowledge that his wife had died from implants. Wow, that was a hard one, because what a sensitive topic, right? Somebody loses a loved one, and now you have the knowledge that they died from their implants. This guy hadn't told me we hadn't even discussed that he was widowed and how his wife died or anything. I just knew that she had implants. So I listened to God immediately on that one, and I began telling this guy my testimony, my story, about how sick I got from implants and how I almost died of toxic shock and sepsis, and how God intervened and saved my life, and the whole story. You can see my testimony video and many other videos if you have any interest on my YouTube channel. But I began telling this guy, and thankfully God put the right words in my mouth, because it was such a sensitive topic. I don't ever want to I'll do whatever God tells me to do. But anyways, it was very sensitive, and I felt my heart was just broken for him, because he didn't realize why his wife had died. He got to see how much she suffered and how sick she became. She became a completely different person. But regardless, I didn't understand why God had me sharing it with him. But I had already learned my lesson that I had to share when God told me to share. I just needed to do it and let God work and do everything he needs to do, because that's something else I've recognized in the 3 years that I've been saved. Some people may judge me as crazy. I don't care who you are sharing your truth that you've been given to share. And I used to judge secretly in my mind, not outwardly, but I just always wondered, I'm like, why do they advocate? Why are they advocating for such and such? Because I was way too busy living my own life and enjoying my own life. I didn't have a lot of time to invest in other people that were advocating, but it didn't make sense to me before. Now here I am advocating. But it didn't make sense to me why people would focus so much of their life energy. And now I get it. Now I understand. And I pray this reaches people, and it encourages others. Even if this is not your story, that I pray that you share this. Let's save the younger generation. Let's save these people from making this same mistake. Because this information is not... I thought for sure by now this would just be public knowledge that breast implants are toxic. People with certain genetic mutations, their cells can't properly detox. So that's why they get so sick and they die of toxic shock or sepsis from their implants. I thought for sure this would be public knowledge by now, and I wouldn't have to say anything. That I could just quietly go on about my life, and God just abrupt halt. No, that's not what's happening to you, Sally. You're part of this. You have got to share, and you've got to try to reach these girls, these women that are still being deceived into thinking implants are 100% safe. So here I was sharing my information with this guy, Didn't understand what God's purpose was for it, but knew I just had to do it. And it turns out they had 2 daughters. Well, I knew in my heart that's exactly why God had me share it. God's mercy and love, it's something else. I mean, it's indescribable. So their 2 girls definitely have the same genetic variations that their mother did. So they needed to be forewarned not to ever even consider implants or anything like that, because their genetics, their cells would not be able to detox that poison out of them. So, you know, I hope that whether this is your story or not, that you take a couple minutes out of your busy day to recognize how simple this is really, truly to recognize. Implants are toxic. There's scientific research out there that shows that implants are toxic. You put a toxic foreign body in a warm body and you're just begging for issues. I don't care if you don't have these genetic variations. It's not a good idea. It's bad, and women are not being properly informed right now to this day. They're being told that implants are still safe. We have got to do our part, and we have got to try to get this information out. You can bet I don't have daughters, so I'm reaching out in an effort to help people be informed, to understand, to at least take a minute to stop their lives and think this through, because I sure didn't. I was told implants were safe. I jumped in with both feet, and I had years of my life stolen from me, and I do not want that to happen to anyone else. So I'll just keep pushing my truth out, and I don't care who thinks I'm crazy. I'm not. I'm sane, and I'm just trying to save everybody. Some other women, the same nightmare, I barely survived. And I know there are tons of women that are dying from toxic shock and sepsis, and they have no idea it's their implants causing this issue. But I pray that you also take the time to think about this for a minute and recognize that why this is an issue and why so many thousands and thousands of women are getting sick, and who knows how many are dying, not knowing that their implants have killed them, and that you share this information with others. Even if it's a man, maybe that man has a daughter that's considering implants at that moment. Let's try to do our duty as humans, to share this information and get it out across the world as quickly as possible. Let's please save other people from making this same mistake and having years of their lives stolen. It stole all of my joy and happiness. I was barely functioning. I wasn't functioning towards the end. Please, and I thank each and every woman that has had has been brave enough to step out of her comfort zone and to share her story, and these women that have started support groups and pages, Facebook pages and such, to share this truth. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. The more we can get this information out, the quicker we're going to stop this tragic epidemic from continuing. Thanks again for checking out this video. God bless.